Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to Masechtas Ksuvas daf Kuf Tes. We are going to begin on Kuf Chesamid Beis by the Mishnah, the very last line. Hapoisek mois l'chasanasai. So you have this really nice father-in-law who is willing to give money for the sake of his daughter and to give money to his son-in-law. And all of a sudden, he changes his mind. Upashet loyas aregel. He literally sticks out his foot. Rashi says, Loshen bezoyinhu. He is doing it in a disgraceful way, as though to say, Toil titshel gabi ragli. Oh, you want something from me? I want you to take the mud off of my shoes. Vani shemati tlei oisi al eitz de'ein lima litain. So he's basically saying that you can hang me on this wood. I have nothing to give. I'm not giving you anything. So now you married this girl. You did Kedushin, thinking that you're going to get all this money, and all of a sudden, everything changed as we continue to Kuf Testament Aleph. So the din is Teishev ad shetalbin roisha. Literally, let her sit and remain engaged until her hair turns white. So, which basically means that she's stuck, and that's it. Admon Omer Yechoil Hi Shetoimer. She can say no 1 second. It's not my fault. Ilani Pasati Atzmi. If I would have done it myself, I understand Eshev Ad Shetalbin Roishi, that I should be punished, if you will. Ha'achshav She'aba Pasak. It wasn't me; it was my father. So Mani Yechol Lasai. So what can I do? O Kainis O Poiter. Either marry me, which is what I prefer, or let me go. So Rabbi Gamliel Roinias Divrei Admon. So Rabbi Gamliel here says, you know what? Once again, I understand Admon's point that in reality it wasn't really her fault; it was her father that said this. So Masnisin Deloy Ki Aitana. Our Mishnah is not like the following, as the Tosefta says as follows: the Sanya Omer of Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Lo Nechu Admon v'Chachamim. They don't argue. Poisek mois in the event where the father is the one that offered money to the son-in-law, who partial this irregular, and then he backed out. Everyone holds, unlike our Mishnah, which only Amnon says this, it was my father that did it, mani so what can I do? So according to this Tosefta, everyone holds like that. So Almanechu, what's the machlokas? Al-Shaposka Hial Atzma, where she's the one that made this stipulation. Says, I'm going to give money. I'm going to bring money into this marriage. So again, the fact that she did it, she has no legitimate claim. She should never have said such a thing. So therefore, she receives this punishment. Admon Omer, Admon says, she still has a claim. What's that? She could say, I have no money. The reason why I said this is because I thought my father was the one who's going to give us the money. Now my father's not going to give. What should I do? So Rabbi Gamliel, when do we say this? And this is going back on the Brisa, B'Gedoyla. If she promises to contribute, so that only is by Gedoyla. But by a Katana, we can say Kaifin, that we're still going to force him. Kaifin Laman. We're going to force the father to give money. We're going to, in the case of a katana, we're going to force the husband litin get. And the reason is because, as the Shittim Kubetza says, is because ein maseh katana klum. So the fact that she said this really has no bearing. Her statement means nothing. So therefore, if it was a katana, you have to give her a get. We saw this in Taisus the other day. Anytime we find that Rabbi Gamliel says, I am siding toward the thought of Admon, halacha k'maisa. Halacha is going to be like Admon, which we're going to see is not in all of his statements. Amalei Rebel Rav Nachman Afil Bebrisa. Even this Bryce that we brought down, or this Tosefta, Amalei Mi Kamrinan Mi kamrinan b'mishnah b'chol makom she'amar Gamliel kamrinan. Any place. It's not limited to a mishnah. It could be a brisa, tosefta as well. Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rabba bar Yirmiyah, Beis Devarim, two things. She'amar Chanan, that Chanan said halacha kiyatzabo. The halacha is like that. So kiyatzabo. So too he says. Shiva Devarim she'amar Admoin ein halacha kiyatzabo. What does that mean? The beginning of our parak, Chanan said two things. Halacha Moises like him, the kiyatzboy, and so too he says. The Shiva Devarim she'amar Admoin ein halacha Moises v'lo kiyatzboy. The halacha is not like him. The Yom Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar mishmei dechesku kol makam she'amar b'gamliel ra'yin yes divrei Admoin halacha kamoisu. What do you mean? The halacha is not just like Chanan; it's also like Admon too. El Hachkamer Shnei Devarim she'amar Chanan halacha kamoisu v'yotzboy. Everything basically that Chanan said the halacha is like. However, when it comes to Shiva Devarim of Admoin, Shemer Admoin, Ein halacha kiyatzbo, the halacha is not always like him, only by three cases. HaKamaiso halacha b'kuhu. But when he says Kamaisai, then the halacha is Kamaisai halacha b'kuhu, in all seven. So the truth is, when it comes to Admon, it's true we don't always hold like him. Amar Rabbi Gamliel says, Oimar in lo Omar lo. It's only if Rabbi Gamliel said it. So El Hachkem, this is how you read it. Shnei Devarim she'amar Chanan halacha Moises kiyatzbo. All the time, the two times of Chanan's statement, halacha like him. Shiva Devarim she'amar Admoin yesh mehen she'halacha Moises v'kiyatzbo. Yesh mehen she'en halacha Moises el kiyatzbo. So the halacha is not always like him. Enoch lo, but the rest no. So that's what it's come to tell us, that we don't always hold like Admon. It's all dependent on what Rabbi Gamliel says. If he says Ranias Divrei Admon. Next Mishnah. Ha'oirer al hasada. So a person protests regarding a field. So says Rashi, Ruvain ma'arer. You have this guy Reuven. He's complaining. Al Sada, he claims that this field should be ad Shimon, which is in Shimon's hands. V'yomer Levi shemacholcha, Levi who sold you this field, gazul mimeni. Levi stole it from you, so he wants to get his field back. Reuben wants his field back. The only problem is the hu chasum aleha be'ed. Says Rashi, al shtar hamachira shekasav Levi Shimon shemacholai. When Levi sold the field to Shimon, Reuven was one of the witnesses on that document. So why would he have signed on a document claiming that Levi is selling this field to Shimon when it was really Reuven's field? Why would Reuven sign such a document? So the question is, isn't that proof enough to say that it's really not Reuven's? So Admon Omer Hasheni Noechli v'Harishin Kashimenu. So Admon says that this person, the complainer, could say, listen, the reason why I signed this document is because Levi is very difficult, and therefore I wanted to get the field into Shimon's hands. Shimon is a more delicate, kind person, and therefore I thought it would be better to sign it to get Levi out of the picture, and now I can just deal with Shimon, who's a nicer person. No, doesn't make any difference. The fact that he signed on it, that's it. He loses out. So it's a machlokas. And then, however, asa simin la'acher ibn esachuso, says Rashi. Let's say you use it as a sign. Says Rashi, matzulo arbas mitzari hasada. So fields are measured by the boundaries. The kasavo b'mitzarim, that's written by the borders, meitzar ploni sadishli, that is border, this is my field. The asa sadazu simin meitzar lokeach, and you use this other field for a sign to the buyer, in the name of the seller. He signed it and didn't complain on such a document. So the field was only used as a siman for the boundaries of a neighboring field. So in this situation, Ibad Esachuso, says Rashi, you can't say that the second person is better, since it wasn't being sold. It was only as a marker. So the fact that you signed it, you can't say, I signed it so it could be transferred from one person to the next. This wasn't a document of sale. And the fact that you did this shows that it is not that is not acceptable, and therefore you're no longer believed to claim that the field is yours. Amar Bai lo shanu. The only time we say this whole din is el aid, only when it comes to a witness. That's when we say this din. This is going to be TB 4. Avol dayin lo ibn esachuso. When it comes to a judge, he doesn't lose out. And the reason is because when you sign a document as a witness, you need to read the star. But Rashi says over here, when it comes to a judge, shulo yada mashakasabo, he doesn't know what's written on the document because all he does is just verifies the signatures. So he doesn't know what's necessarily written on the document. It's not important. It's almost like a notary public. They don't actually need to necessarily know everything. They just need to verify the signature. That's what it is. Question TB4. Let's see what it says. Ha'oyer al sadav hu chasum ke'ed o kedayin b'shtar shemachor hagazlan es asadol acher imo halacha ibn esachusai. So chasum ke'ed, a witness, it says ibn esachuso. Chasum kedayin lo ibn esachuso. I'm not sure why it says that, because ke'ed is really, it's a machlokas, but okay, that's how he writes it. Fine. As we said, if you are the one who is signing as a witness on a document, you actually have to read the document. So therefore, maybe that's a reason why we'll say that ibed zechusai, that you lose the schus, because in that situation you should have read the document and you're like, hey, this is not right, this is my field. As we said, that when it comes to the judges, they'll sign it even without having read it. And this is question 11 also. Dayan ha'chaisam al kim shtar mechira im yochel arer ha'maisa shemishtar umadua. So yochel arer kivan de'en ha'dayanim ha'mekayam es ha'shtar karyam es ksaboy. They don't read it. They just verify the signatures. Okay. However, also simin la'acher, if let's say you used it as some type of border to show, again, the borders of the property, then you're no longer believed. Lo shanu el la'acher, says Rashi, dafkan nakat masnisin simin la'acher, that you made this sign for some other person. Avol atzmo, if you did it for yourself, says Rashi, avol atzmo lo ibn esachuso, you don't lose out your schus. The Aymar, because Ruvain, who's the one who's complaining over here, could say, Idoli abduli hachi, if I did not include this specific field, this measurement, in that case, lo yahavi mazim lahu nihili, then he wouldn't sell it to me. Ma islach lameim, or iboyle le mimsar moida, maybe he should have told Adam. So chaber isle, v'chaber isle. A friend has a friend, the friend's friend has a friend. So he wanted to buy another field from his other field in question. Fine. Hahu de'asa siman la'acher. So it's this person who made the siman on this field to someone. And Erer, he complained, v'shachiv, he died. V'oikim apitrapa, so an apitropos was appointed to deal with this property. Asa apitropos l'kamidi abaya, so he went to Abaya. Or malay asa similar acher ibn esachuso. He said that if someone made this marker on this document, then that again they lose their schos. Amar ihavi abu hoin diasmi kaim. If let's say the fathers of the Yisem were alive, habitoyin v'yomer, they could claim telem echad asisalacha. That's all I agreed. I only agreed regarding a telem, a small little hill. That's all it was. You're right. So if he said that little hill, then he would be believed. That's all it was. Zil havli mias telem echad. So you should at least give him a row, a little this hill. So havil richba dedikla. It had on it a row of date palm trees. If he was alive, I went back, and I bought it back from him. If he said that I went and bought it back, then he's believed. Says Rashi. Why? Why would he be believed? So Rashi says, we saw the very beginning of some Masechta. He had witnesses that it was his. It was stolen. He doesn't have a schus on this hill. So he's the very person who says he bought it back. One who points at Apitropos, Naikim Kihai, you should choose someone like him, that knows how to be able to basically stick up for Yisayim. Question 12. Hahu de asa simon la'acher ira b'shacha b'oikim apitrapa. Be'ez taina zacha hapitropos ba'aruro limrois shiasa hameis simon la'acher. So Omer, he said, Shlo haida el al telamechad. I only admitted to one little hill, and on that hill, chazav l'klemenu. I bought it back. Okay, let's look at TA 3. Ha'oyer el sada, etc. Asa simon la'acher ibet zechuso. Mi asa simon. Who made the simon? Umahadin imtoyin chazarti v'lkachti umadua. So this is what I wrote. Everything in English, at least for my first test. When the original owner is asa simon, it is proof that the field was sold to others, and now he loses his field. But in the case of an apitropos, we find that even so, he would say dafka on a telem, and that he bought it back. He's neman as a peshas or pesha hitzer and gets his field back. Okay, so I'm assuming that's basically what I just said. Okay, I don't have the answers that Dirshu gave. Those are my answers. Next mission. Misha halach medina siyam. So you have a person that traveled abroad, and he basically came back, even though there was a field. He owned a path. He forgot exactly where the path was. So Admon Omer Yelech Lo B'Katsara. So he can take the most direct, narrowest route to be able to get to his field, because he definitely owned the path. He has two choices. He can either spend an absorbent amount of money to be able to purchase it, or he should float in the air to get to his field. So in other words, he has no access to this path anymore because he has no idea where it is, so he loses out. So my time with the Rabbanan. So why did the Rabbanan say that in this situation you lose out? So Shaper Kermer, my time to Rabbanan, Shaper Kermer Admon. Admon seems to make sense. As Rashi, we're talking about in the Havamina, Kisharbasa Sadais Shisavivav, that all the four fields around this guy's middle field, which he just wants to get to his middle field, Shal Adam Echad Hain. They all belong to one person. The Mamanav Shach Orchi Gabehu. There's definitely a path. So you own all the four sides, which are the outside of my inner middle, the one inner middle field that I own. So the only way that I can get to is through a path. But the truth is, you own all the four fields, so therefore, obviously, there's a path that goes through one of your fields. So what's the problem? So on this, the Gemara says that's a good point, but that's not exactly what our Mishnah is talking about. Rabbi Yehuda Marav Kigayin Shikifua Arba B'nei Adam mi'arba ruchaseha. Actually, there's four different people that own the different properties. So on the north is one person, the south one, east and west are different people. So therefore, each person can say, you never had a path by me, even though you had a path by one of the four, but each one could claim it wasn't them. And therefore, because of that, you lose out. So why does Admoin say you can just choose a path? There's a better chance that you're cutting through someone's property that there was no path over. So let's break it down. If you have four fields and they're coming Mikoyach Arba, there's four different people, or if you Arba, there's four fields, and they're bought from one single owner, in that situation, no one disagrees. The field owners can push him off. So let's say it again. If there was four fields that came that were purchased from 4 different people, or there's four owners that each one of them bought from a single owner, so each one could say, no way, you're not going through my field. When you have one that is coming mikoyach arba from 4 owners. Since I'm dealing with just you, so certainly one of those fields was yours, with a path. Rabbanan Savri e shaske shaks. If you're quiet, fine, be quiet. Below mahadrana shtarel maraihu. I'm going to return the shtar to the original owners. Volmatzis liashtuye dina bahadaihu, and you will not be able to do judgment with them. Says Rashi, so you can go and buy a property, buy a path for me, and that will be fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to give it back to the original people, and you're definitely going to be stuck. There was a story who said regarding this date palm tree of his daughter, Ozil Yasmi, the Yisraelim came, Polygon, and they wanted to split up the estate. Well, Yoivli Dikla, but they didn't give the date palm tree. Some Rabbi Yosef remember Hainu Mas Nisan. This is like our Mishnah, says Rashi. The Ozil Gabi Kol Chad V'Chad Umatzi Manchi Rabbanan, that each person could say that it's theirs, just like the Rabbanan, so she would lose that tree. So Rabbi Yosef remember Hainu Mas Nisan. Over there, each person can push off. Hacha, when it comes to this dikla, this tree, gabayuhu, it's by her. So they all have the responsibility. My tekan taihu lesu la dikla lahadiv liflag maresha. So basically, they should go back, give the dekel, and they should resplit the entire Yerusha. Says Rashi, Shahayalo b'shutvis v'shar dekom harbi hayalo v'yistamim haynoisnin lo oisa shnei chatzayin. Ahudi yarmelahu dikla labras shachav v'shavik trei palgi de dikla. So there was a date palm tree, and he gave 2.5. Yosef Rav Ashi v'kakashale mikari inshi with trei palgi dikla. Is then we're going to call it 2.5 trees a tree? Oh, low. So Amalei Rav Mordechai Rav Ashi Hacha Yam Ravimi Mehar Magroini Mishmeda Rabba Kari Inchi with trei palgi dikla. Some people will call 2.5 trees a tree. Okay. Let's see if there's any questions on this. Otherwise, we'll stop. Adkan.